Welcome back to the deep dive. Okay, so let's just get into it. Usually when we pull sources on a superstar like Wiz Khalifa, we're kind of bracing for a certain vibe.
Right. You expect the black and yellow energy.
Totally. Chart-topping records, maybe a tour announcement, the usual industry buzz.
For sure. That's the brand. That's the public face we all know.
Exactly. But today, the stack of sources we have is, well, it's completely different. We're looking at a headline that just stops the music. We're digging into Wiz Khalifa's recent announcement about the sudden passing of his father, Lawrence W. Thomaz. And honestly, this is not just a celebrity news update.
No, it really isn't. It's a huge shift in the narrative. We're not really looking at Wiz the rapper today. We're looking at Cameron Thomaz, the son.
Yeah.
And we're looking at a story that touches on themes that, every single person listening can relate to. Legacy, the pain of loss, and the whole cycle of fatherhood.
We've got a really fascinating set of materials here to understand the full picture. We're not just reading a news alert and moving on. We have Wiz's incredibly raw statements from X and Instagram. They're just heartbreakingly honest.
They really are.
But to give those context, we also dug up a 2016 NME interview that reveals the deep roots of their relationship, and then a really candid 2024 appearance on the Call Her Daddy podcast, where he talks all about his own journey as a father.
And that combination is what makes this a true deep dive, right? Our mission today isn't just to report a death, it's to explore how a father's support built a superstar, how that superstar processes grief in real time, and ultimately how those lessons of fatherhood get passed down. It's a story about the architecture of a family bond.
So let's jump right into the announcement itself. This all broke on social media, on X, and in the world of celebrity news, we're so used to those very sanitized, PR-crafted statements.
Oh, yeah. We are saddened to announce.
Right? And it feels so cold. But Wiz went on X and wrote something that it really caught my attention. He didn't just say, "My dad died." He wrote, "Today my father decided not to wake up."
That phrasing, it's incredibly specific, isn't it? Decided.
It is. It's so active. It stopped me in my tracks.
It immediately reframes the whole event. Usually when you see reports like the TMZ headlines that were floating around describing a death as sudden, the implication is chaos.
Right, that something was stolen or went wrong.
Exactly. But by saying his father decided not to wake up, he's reclaiming the narrative. He's injecting a sense of agency and peace into a moment that is usually all about helplessness.
It feels very consistent with who Wiz is, or at least the persona he's grown into. He then followed that up with a description that I think fits the Wiz Khalifa vibe perfectly, but also tells us so much about his dad. He said, "He went out like a true yogi, at peace and on his own time."
A true yogi.
A true yogi. I just love that imagery.
It creates such a vivid picture. And if you think about the contrast there, the medical reality was likely a shock. The sources don't mention any long illness.
No.
But Wiz is countering that shock narrative right away by calling him a yogi and saying it was on his own time. He's suggesting that despite the suddenness, there was a kind of spiritual completeness to his father's life. He's finding order in the chaos.
That is such a healthy way to process it. Instead of fighting the reality, he's framing it as a transition his father was ready for.
Precisely. And that interpretation really helps with grief. If you believe your father left on his own time, it softens the blow. It feels less like a tragedy and more like a completed cycle.
And speaking of cycles, there was this one specific detail Wiz shared about their very last conversation that really hit me. We all have those mundane talks with our parents, and you never know which one might be the last.
Yeah.
But for them, it was about work, but in the best way.
The movie role, yes.
Right. His dad was telling him how proud he was of a movie role Wiz was in. And here's what gets me. Wiz Khalifa is a global icon. He's achieved everything you can in music. And yet, what stands out in his memory of that final conversation?
His father's pride.
His father's pride. That validation is just. It shows that no matter how big you get, that parental approval is still a cornerstone. You never stop being the kid who wants to show your dad your report card.
Or in this case, your film appearance.
Yeah. And Wiz made a promise right then. He said, "I promised him I would do more." That's heavy, right? To have that be the final exchange, a promise to keep pushing.
It totally transforms the grief into motivation. Instead of the loss paralyzing him, that promise to do more propels him forward. It's a way of keeping the relationship alive through action. It honors his dad's pride.
And you see that perspective shift in his follow-up post, too. Obviously, the internet just floods with comments when something like this happens.
It can be overwhelming.
For sure. But Wiz seemed to find real comfort in it. He posted later saying that Seeing how many people loved and respected his dad actually made him happy.
He wrote, "I know he's proud that he left a positive impact on this earth. Literally all he ever wanted."
Literally all he ever wanted. That struck me as such a profound statement on what legacy even is.
It really is. We might assume his dad wanted fame or money or reflected glory from his son, but according to Wiz, the only metric that mattered was positive impact.
And to see that confirmed by other people, it validates his dad's entire life mission.
Exactly.
It's interesting because we usually see Wiz as this cool, unbothered guy, but these posts just strip all that away. He moved over to Instagram stories and started posting these throwback photos, and that's where it felt like we were just watching a son miss his dad.
Yeah, the visuals really bring it home. They communicate what words can't. What stood out to you?
There was one of his dad pushing a young Wiz on a swing. The caption was just, "Love you, big guy." So simple. Big guy. It felt so intimate.
Big guy implies safety, doesn't it? A protector. It reminds us that before Lawrence was a mentor or a fan, he was just dad on the playground pushing the swing.
And then another one where he's a little kid standing next to his dad and his sibling. He captioned that, "My boy was smooth." You could just feel the admiration. But that photo with the sibling, it brings in another layer of context that makes the story so much heavier. The source material mentions that the sibling is Dorian Lala Thomaz.
Right, and for listeners who might not know, this isn't the first tragedy Wiz has faced. Dorian passed away back in 2017.
Exactly. So when Wiz looks at that picture, he's seeing two family members who are now gone. He actually wrote, "You and Lala are together again," with a praying emoji. That just, it adds a whole other dimension to this loss.
It's cumulative grief. It completely changes the geometry of the family. When his brother died, Wiz and his father were the ones left sharing that memory. Now Wiz is carrying the memory of both of them.
It's heartbreaking.
But look at how he frames it. You are together again. He isn't focusing on his own isolation. He's focusing on their reunion.
That's a comforting way to see it. It really just humanizes him completely. It shows you that celebrity offers zero immunity to these core human experiences.
None at all.
So we've talked about the loss, but I want to go back to something you mentioned earlier. The idea that Lawrence didn't just support Wiz, he literally built the foundation for his career.
Yes. Let's get into that 2016 NME interview. This is the origin story. We often have this narrative of artists coming up purely from the streets, but for Wiz, the incubator was his dad's studio.
Yeah, his dad started a recording studio in Pittsburgh. And Wiz didn't just visit it. He said, quote, "I lived in that studio."
And the context here is so important. Wiz mentioned he grew up in a poor neighborhood. He said, "We didn't have much." So for his father to invest in a recording studio, that's a huge allocation of resources.
That's a great point. It wasn't like they had money to burn. That studio was a choice, a sacrifice.
It absolutely was. In a poor neighborhood, as he put it, that studio was a sanctuary. It kept him off the streets. It kept him focused. It was a physical manifestation of his father's belief in him.
And it led to this huge aha moment for Wiz. He tells this story about being in second grade, and seeing his uncle pull out a piece of paper.
This is such a crucial moment because up until then, Wiz thought rap was just something that lived on the radio. It was distant, magic for other people.
Right. And then his uncle starts reading a rap from this piece of paper. And for Wiz, it's like, wait a minute, you can write this down. We can do this. He said, it blew my mind.
It's the demystification of art. His dad provided the physical space, the studio. His uncle provided the conceptual possibility, the idea that we can do this too. Those two things combined just lit the fuse.
And Wiz says it himself. That's what turned me into who I am today.
It's wild to think about the butterfly effect there. If his dad hadn't built that studio, if his uncle hadn't written that rap, do we get Black and Yellow?
Do we get See Again? Maybe not.
It's highly unlikely. Talent needs opportunity. And in this case, the opportunity was completely homegrown. His family built the stage he learned to stand on.
And now the torch has been passed. Wiz isn't just the kid in the studio anymore. He's the dad. And this is where that 2024 Call Her Daddy interview comes in. It's fascinating to hear him talk about how his priorities have shifted.
It's a classic maturation story. He admits that before kids, his purpose was singular. He told the host to be an entertainer, to be on that stage. That was it.
And now it's completely different. He still loves music, obviously. He calls it his gift and his work. But he separates that from his purpose.
Correct. He identifies fatherhood as something that comes naturally. He says, being a dad is what I'm really here for. That is a massive psychological shift for someone whose whole identity was being a performer.
He has his son, Sebastian, who's 12, with his ex-wife, Amber Rose. and a brand new baby girl, Cadence, with his girlfriend Amy Aguilar. So he's got a preteen and an infant. That's a wide range of dad duties.
It is, and he was really honest about parenting. He said there is no book.
Which is the universal truth, right?
Yeah.
There is nobody to study to tell you how to be a great dad. But what's touching is where he finds his reassurance. Just like he looked for validation from his father about the movie, he now looks for it from his son.
The symmetry there is what stands out to me.
Yeah, tell me about that.
Well, he shared that Sebastian will just come up to him and say things like, "You're just such a good dad, Dad." And you can just tell that those words mean more to him than any Grammy. It closes the loop. We started with Lawrence telling Wiz he was proud of him. Now we have Wiz's son telling Wiz he's a good dad. The roles change, but the currency of love and affirmation stays exactly the same.
It really does. And it's kind of beautiful that in the midst of mourning his dad, he has this new life, his baby daughter, and this strong bond with Sebastian. It's the whole circle of life thing, but playing out in real time.
It is. The loss of the older generation is balanced by the responsibility for the new one. Wiz seems to understand that his father's legacy isn't just the studio. It's the way Wiz now parents his own kids.
Okay, so let's put it all together. We have the grief, the origin story in the studio, and his current parenting philosophy. What are we really seeing here?
I think we're seeing the human infrastructure behind success. We look at Wiz Khalifa and we see the hits, the tattoos, the brand. But underneath all of that is a structure built by Lawrence Thomaz.
He provided the tools, the studio.
Right, and the encouragement, the pride, and even in passing, he's providing a model for how to leave the world like a true yogi.
And Wiz is taking that model and applying it. He's taking the work of music and separating it from the purpose of fatherhood. It feels like he's trying to be for his kids what Lawrence was for him.
Precisely. And notice the symmetry in the positive impact comment again. Wiz said his dad was proud to leave a positive impact. Wiz is now realizing his most important positive impact is his children. It's a shift from seeking legacy through fame to building legacy through family.
It's a powerful reminder. You know, we started this deep dive talking about a celebrity death, but really we're talking about a son saying goodbye to his dad. The fame is just the wallpaper.
Absolutely. The source material paints this picture of a relationship that was just foundational. You can't separate Wiz Khalifa, the artist, from Cameron Thomaz, the son of Lawrence.
That line, "I lived in that studio," it really sticks with me. It's such a tangible image of a father letting his son just obsess over his passion.
And doing it in a poor neighborhood where that space was a sanctuary, that studio likely kept him safe, kept him focused, gave him a future. That's the ultimate act of fatherly protection.
And now Wiz is promising to do more.
Right.
It makes you wonder what that more will look like now that the source of his original inspiration is gone.
Grief can be a tremendous engine for creativity. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a shift in his art, maybe something more reflective.
Yeah, hearing him talk about being a yogi and finding peace, it feels like a different frequency than Black and Yellow.
It is maturity. It's the wisdom that comes from loss.
So as we wrap this up, we've gone from the shock of the announcement to a celebration of a life. We've seen the throwback photos, the memories of the studio, and the validation from the next generation.
It's a complete narrative arc. From the son being pushed on a swing to the father pushing his own children forward. The names change, but the love is the constant.
It really makes you think about the people behind the people we admire. Every superstar has an origin story, and usually there's a parent back there building a studio or just saying, "I'm proud of you."
And that support just echoes. Lawrence Thomaz is gone, but his influence is on stage every time Wiz performs, and in the home every time Wiz is with his kids.
That is the definition of legacy right there.
Indeed.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground today. From the heartbreaking news on X to that inspiring backstory in Enemy, it's been a journey.
A necessary one, I think. It's good to pause and recognize the humanity in these headlines.
Absolutely. So here's a final thought for you to take with you. Wiz Khalifa found comfort in knowing his father left a positive impact on the people who knew him. That was the metric that mattered in the end.
It raises a pretty important question for all of us.
Exactly. If our true legacy isn't defined by our job titles or our bank accounts or our follower count, but simply by the positive impact we leave on the people who know us best, how does that change the way you approach your interactions today? Maybe that conversation you're about to have is more important than you think.
Something to consider.
Thanks for listening to this deep dive. We'll catch you next time.